Okay, hello, good morning. Yet another beautiful day here in the middle of Norway. Like it's really hot, which is unusual. Well, pretty like it's like I think a month ago it was like snowing here, so that's what I mean by unusual. Like it does get hot here in the summer. But anyways, let's just dive into what we were doing. So the last time we were implementing this logic of grabbing the backlog, but as you can see, we're getting an error here, and it actually complains about our disposer, which means that it actually runs the exit hook. But if we move into the dev tools here, we can get a better understanding of what's actually happening. So what's actually happening is that we are moving into the authenticated state. We're setting the user and the profile, and then we're trying to stream the backlog. But we are getting an error here that the first argument is undefined. And that throws an error, and that is why it moves into, tries to move out of the authenticated state. Because as we can see here, if we get an error, then we move to unauthenticated. So the reason this happens, if we look at our effects here, I actually noticed this when I stopped the stream yesterday, is that we did this check. If we have a family UID, we are going to grab from families, or we're going to grab the data from profiles. But we always use the family UID here. So we actually need to... yeah, and I'm calling it family UID. We talked about that last time, like what's a UID and what's an ID. And it seems that, I didn't know this, that UID is specific to the user, and then ID is like the entities in the database. At least that seems to be Firebase's approach. But yeah, maybe we can change this now actually. So we'll say family ID, and then we'll just change the typings. We can kind of like fix this in this implementation so that we have some consistency. Okay, so family ID, our profile should now have family ID. Or should we? Well, this will of course break. Yeah, this will break the current. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Let's imagine it's a new service. Okay, so the ID we are looking for is ID is either the family ID, or we're going to use the profile UID. So the user identifier, like, let's check it. UID versus ID. Oh, ID. Yes. The unique, the ID, I think they can be different. Yeah, maybe this. Yeah, it's unique, it's UID. Yeah, let's see what they're saying here. Doing some research. Should stand for universal identifier if you need to use someone new, use UID. Okay, but then let's not break things unnecessarily. So we'll do, let's keep family UID. Yes, family UID, and then let's say UID, and then we'll rather do this. So if we have a family UID, we're going to use that. If we have, if we don't have it, it will grab the UID of the profile, and then we shouldn't get that error at least. Oh, but we're getting another error. Yes. And that is because we are calling, let's see here, we're calling this this action from within our effect, but we don't have that action yet. We didn't implement it. So we need to fix that. But before we do that, I wanted to, I got a message last night. Well, so when I wake up in the morning, like Yves, one of the founders of Code Sandbox, he always does some coding in the evening. And we talked about the type of import issue we met. Let's see, where was that? That was also in the effect. So we weren't able to write type of import Firebase. And the reason we couldn't do that is because Code Sandbox has its own bundler. So it just didn't take into account that, because import is actually like it's actually like JavaScript. And then it was used within like a typing context. So the bundler thought it was an actual import. But if we change this now, I haven't tested this. So let's see if we fixed it. And I'll say that. Yeah, we fixed it. Awesome. So now we can say type of import Firebase, and we have our Firebase here. I'm still unsure how we will actually like type the app here, or we can do another try. So we don't really have access to the type itself, but maybe we could do like return value type of Firebase. What's it? Oh yeah, we can't even point to this stuff. App. Yeah, we can. This is silly stuff. And then initial. Don't we have like? Oh, sorry. Firebase initialize app. So we could do maybe something like that. Yeah, but it probably yells at me. Oh, no, it actually seems to work. No, app any. Yeah, I don't care. I don't want to spend one more second on that typing. Okay. So what we can do now is, yeah, one more thing related to typing. So last time we were looking at our state, where we had like, or am I wrong on this one? Oh yeah, sorry. No, I was thinking the wrong thing. I thought we had like the backlog was like null, but it's not null. It's always like an object. So my point is we can always point to the backlog, but if you're not authenticated, it will be empty. So, and we can actually enforce that even more. So when we go to our authenticated, when we move out of authenticated, we can actually clean up some state as well. So we can say like state.backlog is an empty object. So whenever we move out of authenticated, we will actually remove the items as well, the backlog items, which is also a nice feature of the exit hook. Okay, so whenever we get a new backlog item, well, stream backlog, yeah, let's call it stream backlog. Yes, so whenever we get like a new snapshot from Firebase, we will get an object of backlog items. So we need to create an action. And where are we going to put that action? Let's put it on the root for now, and then we'll see if we'll put this into a namespace later. So we made our auth its own namespace as like a state machine, because it had its own actions basically, but the rest we're going to put on the root for now, and then we'll see if we'll refactor that later. So what we want to do is export on backlog update. It's an action that receives backlog items. Yeah, we'll find those later. Do we get any help? No. Action from Overmine, and we get our backlog items from our state. Okay, and then we need to include our actions in let's do it up here as actions from actions, and we'll attach that to the root. And now I guess we shouldn't have an error anymore. We don't, which is great. And I guess our, yeah, we did get like a snapshot here, but it's like empty. We don't have anything there, which is perfectly okay. Cool. I guess like the next natural step is to like start adding some backlog items. And I'm a little bit unsure if we're going to like look into the UI of this. You know what we're going to try to do? We're going to try to, yeah, this will be cool. We'll try to implement adding a backlog item without the UI, because this is what I'm actually exploring with the Overmind DevTools, is the possibility to actually work inside, I'm not sure why this is open, explore developing the app actually without using the UI. So this is such a typical example. Like we just want to implement the logic, application logic of adding a backlog item. But to do so, we kind of have to dive into the UI. We have to create the UI for it and everything. But I don't really care about that now. I just want to be able to add that backlog item. So maybe what we can do first here, let's see, do I have, where is it? There we have it. Let's look at the old app and look at how we, oh, is this the core? Yeah, this is the core. Where are we? API. How do we actually add? This is archive backlog item. Oh yeah, I only have this update backlog item. This is also like this funny, tricky thing in the like application development, is when you have the possibility to add and edit something. Like how do you actually do that? Do you treat it as two different things? So you have like one form for adding and then another for editing, but they're basically the same. The only thing that differentiates them is that one of them actually has like a, so if you prepare like a model for that form, the only difference is that when you edit, it has an ID already, and if it's a new one, it doesn't have that ID. But conceptually they are like two different things. So what should we do here? I guess I would just think straightforward and have like two different things, one for adding and one for updating, because it's just that's how we think about it. And doing them as the same thing is like a technical optimization. We want to kind of like write less code, but it doesn't make the code more clear. We're just kind of merging two different things. And as you just saw, I couldn't, where is adding a backlog item? And it doesn't make sense immediately that, oh, of course, update is adding. Yeah, as you can see here, if it's null. Anyways, so we are going to create like an add backlog thing, and then we are going to, let's see, let's just copy this stuff, or maybe, okay, so we're getting the data reference again. This is like based on the profile. We go and grab the, we go and grab either the family or the profile. We go and grab the backlog, and then we basically just add to that collection. And what we add is a description. We add a date. And then we have this server timestamp on created. Yes. Okay, let's try to implement that. In our effects, our, yeah, it's starting to grow a bit, this Firebase thing. So maybe we'll make like a folder instead of effects. And then we have like a Firebase file. But we can look at that later. Add backlog item. Yes, and now there's like a question on how we want to do this, because in this case on stream backlog we passed in the profile, And then we checked like which collection and what UID we should have. And we basically have to do the same now, which kind of gets a little bit tedious. Like we're duplicating this code, and that might not be necessary. Well, it really isn't necessary. And you really want this to stay the same, so you don't really want to copy this over here. Now the thing is, what we can do is, like when we, for example, sign in, we could have, yeah, we have get profile. Yeah, so maybe we can do that. This is interesting. So as we talked about, when we grab a user, you're not really authenticated until we also have the profile. And maybe we don't even care about the user because, well, maybe we want the name of the user, but we have the name on the profile. Yeah, but what I mean is, we can actually, with this effect, and this is also the benefit of effects, is that we can co-locate logic behind a single method. So in this case, when we actually sign in, oh yeah, we have this sign in with redirect. This one is a little bit tricky because we sign in when we, yeah, and then we have the on auth changed. Yeah, so we cannot really put that in the effect. Like my idea was that, what if we, when we grab the user inside the effect, we also go and grab the profile? But that doesn't really make sense because when we have this redirect thing, which triggers the action, so we kind of have to leave that logic to the action. So how do we want to ensure that we don't want to pass in the profile every single time? Maybe we should just think on that a bit. Because basically what we have to do is we have, at some point, we have to pass the profile to the effect, and then the effect needs to keep that state. So whenever it gets a method call, it doesn't need a profile. It already has the profile as an internal state. But yeah, but what we at least can do, maybe it is a good thing that we do pass in the profile, because then the effect becomes, well, it is kind of stateful already, but it becomes less stateful, meaning the effect doesn't have any idea about the profile itself. It's just safer. Like the less state you have to manage, the better. But what we can do is we can go and grab the collection and the UID from a function. So let's, oh yeah, so now we can actually fix this as well. We don't need this load Firebase thing. We can do this. Awesome. But what we want here, we want a function, get collection and UID. And what this does is it takes a profile, and then we move this logic up here. And I guess we can just return an object here. So the collection and the UID, that's the collection, and this is the UID. Get collection and UID. So when we are here, we can say collection UID equals get collection and UID. This is pretty nice. I think I'm happy with this. And what we want to do is return Firebase, Firestore, collection. Yeah, maybe we could even, oh. Yeah, we could even say like get profile. Ooh, this is nice. We can do like get profile collection. Get profile collection. or not even get, what should we call it? We're not like getting the profile collection. We are basically going to do this. Get data. Get profile doc. Get doc. Anyway, something like that. This is terrible. Naming things, super hard. Let's see. And we're moving back on collection. Let's just inline it now. So the collection is this, and the UID is morning, Danny. Danny is one of my colleagues at Code Sandbox. He's primarily a designer, so it's fun that he joins the session. I think he does it for his own enjoyment. When I get stuck, he likes to, yeah, it's morning entertainment for him, watching me get stuck in code. Yes, get doc, great. And this is where the magic happens. Get doc, and we just say profile. Boom. That's nice. That's super nice, because that cleans up this code as well. Get doc, profile. And there we are. Okay. That is like a nice, like, I don't, the name of this could be better. But we do say get doc based on the profile, so it's pretty it's pretty nice, I think. Okay, and TypeScript infers that we're returning like a collection thing here. Awesome. Backlog, and then we're going to add something. And what we're going to add is what was the type. So we have this backlog item. It has an ID. Well, we're not going to send the ID because that's being created by Firebase. We're going to send in a date. No, optionally, we're going to send a date. So in the app, when you create a backlog item, you can set a date if you want to. If you set a date, it's an event. It means that you don't toggle it on what weekday you want to kind of do it. It's just some event that happens in the future. Yes, so we have and created. This is something that Firebase is going to set. So there's like this special thing, this special value you can add so that Firebase, when it looks at the data, it will insert its server timestamp there. And then we have the description. Cool. So I guess we need to pass in date and description. So at least it needs a description, that's for sure. And then we optionally have a date, which would be a number, because I like to use epoch. Cool. The question is, should we have like 3 arguments here, or should we have put like the description and the date into one thing? I guess we should do that. So data, description, and date, because that means we can just spread that data in, and then we can say created. And now the question is, where is this Firebase? I don't remember. We have to find that. Firebase server timestamp. I don't know how to. Firebase.database.servervalue.timestamp. Let's try that. Firebase.database.servervalue timestamp. I think that's it. Okay, cool. So now we have, okay, so we can actually try it. This is going to be exciting. So now we have our new action, and in our thingy here, we should, I thought we would have the action here. Actually, we don't. Don't we have it there? Add. Oh, sorry. We only have the effect. We have to actually add the action that's going to use the effect. Sorry about that. So let's create that now. Oh yeah, we didn't finish our own backlog update. Let's do that first. If you remember, we get the backlog items here, and what we can do, we can just say object assign state backlog and then backlog items. And the nice thing about this is, since this dictionary is based on IDs, they will just override any existing backlog items. So when they update, they will just hit here and then be merged into the existing backlog items. And when they do, Overmind will see exactly what is being, which like dictionary item is being updated, and make the render happen, which is cool. Add backlog item. It's an action. I guess it's like it's an async action because we're doing asynchronous stuff. Yeah, we need to grab this from Overmind as well. And what we want to pass in here is, well, basically it's the, yeah, so this is kind of for, okay, for now we're going to actually pass in this data, description, string, date, number. But later we're going to talk about how we actually want to use the state of Overmind to insert this stuff, or can do that. You don't necessarily have to, but you can do that, because this is the description and the date is coming from the components. But the question is, should the component hold on to that state until you post it? Or do you want Overmind to keep that state, so when you post it, you have it available in your state? And I'm going to show you why you might consider putting it into Overmind later. But now we should really get done with this. So effects, yes, so basic, oh, let's see, state. So first we actually have to check, because now we might not have a profile here. And this is where what I started to talk about, where, well, I know that when I run add backlog item, I know that I'm logged in. I know I have a profile. If I didn't have a profile, I would not have been logged in, and I would not have been able to call this action. So this is like a super fascinating thing. I got one comment yesterday about non-nullable, which is like a type that allows you to remove null and undefined. But the problem is, then you would have to explicitly, if I understand it correctly, you would explicitly have to tell TypeScript that instead of making like this check, if state profile, you would kind of have to do it by typing. So you're not really fixing the problem. But we're going to see how we can do this better. But the reason I haven't really looked into this before, and not even developing Overmind, is because I never used strict null checks. And it's something that came with TypeScript later on. And even though strict null checks is really, really nice, because it does indicate an issue. Like technically, state.profile could be null. But because of the way I architect the app, it can't be null at this point. So yeah, it's really interesting. What state machines does, which is much better, is that you don't check the explicit value. With the action, you would rather do state. In this case, I'm using auth. You're checking the state of the app, which makes sense. Like you have an action, and when you define that action, you expect the application to be in a specific state. Which is really interesting. And you could even do things like, what we could do here is like, I'm starting to go way off here, but sorry, I had like a moment. So what we could do here is like with state, and then you could say like, you will get the state here. or when state, something like that. It doesn't matter. When state, and then you could say state of equals authenticated. And then the second callback will be the actual action. So you would do like this, and then you had effects. And the point is, then this state would actually be typed with this. And if the state wasn't authenticated, the action wouldn't run at all. So this is an interesting thing. And it's the same in the component. Like in the component, you would actually check first, what state is the app in when I run this, try to render this component. And you just ensure that the app is in the correct state, and then you will get the correct typing related to that. And I think that is a really good way to handle this. It's just, you just have to manually handle it currently. But just some thoughts. Let's implement this sucker. So for now, since we don't have a state machine representing the profile, we have to actually check the profile. And then we're going to do effects, API, add backlog item. We have to pass in the profile, and then we want to pass in the data like that. Okay, TypeScript is happy. I'm saving that. We should now have add backlog item. I can click that, and now we can say description, my backlog item, and I should be able to hit enter. And what do you know? We did, this is awesome. So we did a backlog item here. We sent it in. It returned some kind of weird result. Let's check what that actually returns. It's like a class instance. That is why it's called n here. But as we can see, our stream of backlog items updated. We got a new backlog item. We got the ID of it, my backlog item, and we can also see that in our backlog, we actually have it. So this is kind of the experience I was going for. I would get stuck in some freaking CSS stuff, just trying to add a backlog item. But using the Overmind DevTools, I was able to implement this logic super quickly and test it, and now it's ready for a UI. Oh, this felt really good. Like this is such a, like the 2 last days with TypeScript typing hell, this was, I needed this. Okay, cool. And I think this is a perfect moment to stop as well. I guess next time we have to look at some UI. We need to bring in like a calendar so you can choose like a date and stuff. So that's going to be nice. Yeah, let's see what we'll do. I think we should do some UI. But yeah, great. If you, yeah, I don't know. No, we'll leave it at that for now. Thanks for following me on this, and I guess I'll see you tomorrow, and have a nice day.